I died on a Tuesday. The hospital bracelet was still on my wrist when I found the bank statements. Stage 4, 6 months, they'd said. Maybe a year if I was lucky, but Marcus had other plans for that year. He'd cashed out my mother's inheritance. Every penny. The house she'd left me in Santa Monica, sold 3 months ago while I was too sick from chemo to notice. The life insurance policy she'd carefully maintained, surrendered. The investment accounts liquidated. $2.4 million gone. I found him at the Bellagio. He didn't see me shuffle in, oxygen tank rattling behind me like a ghost chain. He was too busy laughing, arm around some blonde in a dress that cost more than my hospital bills. His chips were red, hundreds, stacked carelessly in front of him like they meant nothing, like they hadn't been built from my mother's 40 years of careful saving. "Another round!" he crowed, and his friends cheered. I wanted to scream, to rage, to demand answers, but my lungs were full of fluid and my body was full of cancer, and all I could do was stand there, a dying woman watching her husband celebrate her inheritance. He saw me eventually. His face cycled through surprise, annoyance, and finally settled on irritation. "Babe," he said, not moving from his seat, "what are you doing here? You should be resting." "Where's my money?" My voice came out as a whisper. The blonde looked uncomfortable. His friends suddenly found their drinks fascinating. "We'll talk about this at home." He turned back to the table, dismissing me. "Where is my money?" He sighed like I was a child interrupting adult conversation. "I invested it in opportunities." "You wouldn't understand." "You gambled it." "I'm making us rich." He gestured at his chips. "I'm up 15,000 tonight. You should be thanking me." 15,000. He'd burned through 2.4 million and thought 15,000 made him a hero. I don't remember leaving. I don't remember the taxi or the empty apartment or taking the entire bottle of painkillers. I just remember thinking that at least cancer would be faster than watching him destroy everything my mother had built. I woke up to my mother's voice. "Sweetheart, you're going to be late for your interview." I opened my eyes. Sunlight streamed through familiar windows. My childhood bedroom. Posters I'd taken down a decade ago. I looked down at my hands, young, healthy, trembling. My mother appeared in the doorway, very much alive, holding a cup of coffee. "Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." I burst into tears. It took me 3 days to accept it. 3 days of touching my mother's face, of breathing without pain, of checking and rechecking the date on my phone. May 15th, 2015. 8 years ago. 2 years before I'd meet Marcus. 5 years before Mom's stroke. 7 years before the cancer diagnosis. I had gone back. The thing about dying is that it clarifies your priorities. I didn't waste time questioning the how or why. I had been given an impossible gift and I was going to use it. First, I got my mother to a cardiologist, a full cardiac workup. They found the aneurysm, the ticking time bomb that would have killed her in 2017, surgery, 3 months of recovery, and she was fine. Better than fine. She cried when I insisted, said I was being paranoid, but I'd already lost her once. I wasn't losing her again. Second, I changed everything about my life trajectory. The interview that day, I tanked it deliberately. That job would lead me to the conference where I'd meet Marcus. Instead, I took a position across town in a different industry with different people. I thought I was safe. But fate, apparently, has a sense of humor. I met him at my gym. He accidentally grabbed my water bottle, flashed that same devastating smile, used that same self-deprecating charm. "I'm so sorry. I'm a disaster before I've had my coffee." My stomach dropped. "No worries," I said flatly, taking my bottle back. "I'm Marcus." He extended his hand. I looked at that hand, the same hand that would hold mine at my mother's funeral, that would sign the papers selling her house, that would push chips across a felt table while I died alone, and every fiber of my being screamed to run. But I didn't, because running wouldn't be enough. He'd done this before to me. How many other women had there been? How many other inheritances, other tragedies, other opportunities? Men like Marcus didn't stop because one woman got away. They just found another victim. So I smiled. I shook his hand. And I said, I'm Jennifer. I knew exactly who Marcus Chen was now in this timeline. I'd done my research in those 3 days of accepting my new reality. Trust fund kid, family money made in real estate. His grandfather had been a brilliant developer. His father had been competent enough. Marcus was the wastrel third generation, coasting on a name and a portfolio he didn't manage. But here's what I also knew. His family had strict rules. Every cent of the family money was locked in a trust until he turned 35. He got an allowance, generous but finite. When he turned 35 in 2018, he'd inherit $20 million outright. In my first life, he'd met me after that inheritance, after he'd already blown through half of it. He'd been looking for the next score, and there I was, grieving, vulnerable, with an inheritance of my own coming. But this time, I'd met him 3 years early. He didn't have his money yet. He was still playing with his allowance, still somewhat restrained by family oversight. This time, I was the one with the advantage. So what do you do? He asked, falling into step beside me as I headed to the locker room. I'm in finance, I lied smoothly. I actually worked in marketing, but I needed him to see me as useful, as someone who understood money. Wealth management, you? Family business. He said it with practiced humility. That didn't hide the arrogance underneath. Real estate mostly. It's boring. $20 million portfolios are never boring, I said casually. His eyes sharpened with interest. You know the Chens? I know the industry. I smiled. Everyone knows the Chen legacy. Hook, line, sinker. We dated for 6 months before he proposed. I said yes, even though every moment with him felt like swallowing glass. He was exactly as I remembered, charming in public, casually cruel in private. The way he spoke to waiters, the way he forgot his wallet, the way he'd criticize my clothes, my hair, my laugh, always with a smile that said he was joking, but we both knew he wasn't. But I also noticed the things I'd missed the first time, blinded by what I'd thought was love. The way his eyes tracked other women, the way he borrowed money from his parents and never paid them back, the way he talked about his family's wealth as if it were already his, as if he'd earned it. My mother didn't like him. There's something off, she said over tea one afternoon. Healthy, vibrant, wonderfully alive. I can't put my finger on it. I know, Mom. She blinked. Then why Because I need to marry him. I took her hand. Trust me, please. Just trust me. She searched my face for a long moment. Is this about the cancer? My blood ran cold. What? You've been acting strange since you made me get that cardiac screening. Paranoid. Like you're trying to fix things that aren't broken. She squeezed my fingers. Did you find something? Did a doctor tell you something you're not telling me? No. I pulled her into a hug. No, Mom, I'm fine. I'm healthy. I have a feeling about Marcus. A good feeling. I know he seems rough around the edges, but I can see who he really is. That part, at least, was true. We married in April 2016. Small ceremony, his family's estate. His parents were polite but distant. His grandfather, ancient and sharp-eyed, watched me throughout the reception like he was calculating my worth to the penny. You seem clever, he said when Marcus left me alone with him. Too clever for my grandson. I love him, I said. Love. He snorted. Do you know what he did with his last quarterly allowance? I waited. Lost $80,000 at a poker table in Macau. $80,000 in one night. And you know what he said when I called him? The old man leaned forward. He said, "Don't worry, grandfather. I was due for a loss. I'll win it back next time." Everyone has bad nights. I said carefully. My grandson is a fool with money, always has been. He thinks the world owes him success. He studied me. The trust doesn't unlock until he's 35. That's 3 more years. Can you keep him from destroying himself until then? I can try. He didn't sound convinced. My lawyer has instructions. If Marcus divorces before 35, the money stays in trust until he's 40. Any assets acquired during the marriage are subject to community property laws. I'm not a romantic, Jennifer. I'm a businessman. My grandson is an idiot, but he's my idiot. I'm hoping you're smart enough for both of you. He died 6 months later. Heart attack, peaceful in his sleep. The trust remained ironclad. Marcus would get his $20 million on his 35th birthday in November 2018, not a moment sooner. He took the waiting poorly. It's not fair, he raged after the will reading. I'm 32 years old. What am I supposed to do for 3 more years? What you've been doing, I said calmly. Live on your allowance, work in the family business. The allowance is nothing. Do you know what my friends make? Real money. Millions in bonuses. His allowance was $15,000 a month, $180,000 a year to do absolutely nothing. But to Marcus, it was poverty. Then work harder, I suggested. Prove yourself. I shouldn't have to prove myself. It's my money, my family. I watched him spiral and said nothing. This was the Marcus I'd forgotten, the one who existed before desperation made him charming, entitled, bitter, lazy, perfect. In my first life, my mother died in 2017. In this life, she was healthy and thriving, running her investment consulting firm with the energy of a woman 20 years younger. She'd taught me everything she knew about money, and now I was finally ready to use it. I want to learn about gambling, I told her one evening. She looked up from her laptop. Why? Call it a hobby. Jennifer, Mom, you said to trust you about Marcus. Now I'm asking you to trust me about this. I sat across from her. Teach me about probability, game theory, statistics, everything you know. She did. For 2 years, while Marcus grew more bitter about his delayed inheritance, I studied. Poker, blackjack, sports betting, market speculation. My mother had a PhD in mathematics and had made her fortune in quantitative analysis. She taught me to see patterns, to calculate odds, to know when the house edge was small enough to exploit. Gambling is for fools, she said, even as she showed me the math. The house always wins. Unless you can count cards, unless you can calculate odds faster than the other players, unless you know something they don't. I smiled. Then it's not gambling, it's investing with better odds. You sound like your husband. No, Marcus gambles because he thinks he's lucky. I'm learning because I know luck is just probability you haven't calculated yet. Marcus's 35th birthday arrived on a Tuesday. The same day I died in my other life, I thought, and felt the universe's sense of irony. The money transferred at midnight. $20 million moved from trust to his personal accounts in one electronic stroke. He woke up rich, really rich, for the first time in his life. He was insufferable by breakfast. We should celebrate, he announced, checking his phone every 30 seconds like the numbers might change. Vegas, this weekend, spare no expense. It's Tuesday, I said. We both have work. Jennifer. He looked at me like I was dense. I have $20 million. I don't need to work. My family expects me to have this money 20 years from now. That's what they expect. What I do now is my business. He was already texting. I'm calling the guys. We're flying out Friday. I'll come with you. He hesitated. It's kind of a guy's trip. To Vegas? To celebrate your birthday? You don't want your wife there? The calculation crossed his face, the optics of leaving me behind versus the freedom of going alone. Fine, but don't be boring about it. Don't lecture me about money. I smiled. I wouldn't dream of it. We flew first class. Marcus bought a bottle of champagne that cost more than most people's monthly rent and drank it before we landed. His three closest friends met us at the airport. All of them trust fund kids, all of them exactly as I remembered from my death scene. They were going to watch me destroy him, I realized. They were going to be witnesses. The Bellagio suite cost $15,000 for the weekend. Marcus didn't blink. He tipped the bellhop $500 and ordered bottle service like he was trying to single-handedly support the Nevada tax base. "Tonight, we conquer Vegas," he shouted, and his friends cheered. I unpacked slowly, carefully. I'd brought 5 different outfits, each one more beautiful than the last. I'd had my hair done, my nails done, my makeup professionally applied. I looked like money, the kind of money that doesn't need to announce itself. Marcus barely noticed. The casino floor was exactly as I remembered. The lights, the sounds, the particular smell of cigarettes and desperation and air conditioning. Marcus headed straight for the high-limit room, his friends trailing like remoras after a shark. I went to the poker room. Texas Hold'em, $5 $10 blinds, maximum buy-in $1,000. Small stakes for the Bellagio, but I wasn't here to win money at poker. I was here to be seen. I bought in for the maximum and proceeded to play the tightest, most boring poker imaginable. Fold, 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 occasionally raising with premium hands. I lost slowly, carefully, professionally. The dealers noticed, the pit boss noticed. After 3 hours, I was down $400 and had established exactly what I wanted, a reputation as a cautious player with more money than skill. I checked on Marcus once. He was at the craps table surrounded by a crowd throwing dice like he'd been born to it. He was up, naturally. Beginners are always up at first. That's how they hook you. I went back to the poker room. "Your husband seems to be having fun," the dealer said as he shuffled. "He is." I smiled. "It's his birthday." "Big one?" "The biggest." I played for 6 hours that first night. Lost $100 total. Tipped generously, made friends with the regulars, let them think I piss hides. Was a rich housewife who liked to play cards while her husband had real fun. Marcus didn't notice when I came back to the suite at 3 a.m. He was passed out on the couch, chips scattered across the coffee table like confetti. I counted them while he snored. He'd started the night with $50,000 in cash. He had $68,000 now. Up $18,000. He'd think he was invincible. Day 2, he hit the high-limit baccarat. He had a system, he told everyone. A guaranteed system. Mathematics and probability and pattern recognition. It was nonsense, of course. Baccarat is pure chance. But Marcus believed in his own genius, and that belief would cost him everything. I went back to the poker room. This time I bought in for $3,000. I played slightly looser, won a few small pots, lost a few medium ones. The regulars welcomed me back. We talked about kids, vacations, the housing market. I was just another tourist playing cards. Except I was counting. Every hand, every card, every pattern. Not to win. I didn't care about winning poker. I was practicing. I was calibrating. I was making sure that when the moment came, I'd be ready. Marcus came to find me around midnight. "There you are." He was drunk, happy, wired on winning. "I'm up 40,000. Can you believe it?" "That's wonderful, honey." "Come and do a shot with me. You're being so boring." "I'm in the middle of a hand." He looked at my modest stack at the low-stakes table and something like contempt crossed his face. "Whatever. Don't wait up." He'd started with 50,000. Won 18 the first night. Now he was claiming to be up 40 total, which meant he'd won about 22,000 tonight. Small change compared to his net worth, but the trajectory was what mattered. He was winning. He believed in his system, and he was about to learn why the house always wins. Day 3, Sunday, was when everything changed. Marcus woke up at noon, hungover and irritable. "I think I'm going to play some more today," he announced. "Really make something happen." "Okay. You don't care?" Why would I care? It's your birthday weekend. I smiled. Have fun. He studied me suspiciously. Most wives would be freaking out. Most wives aren't married to someone who's up 60,000 in 2 days. That landed. His chest puffed up. Exactly. I know what I'm doing. I know you do. He left for the casino with his friends, and I finally made my move. I'd been studying the casino for 2 days. I knew which dealers were tired, which pit bosses were distracted, which tables had the loosest players. More importantly, I knew which games Marcus hadn't touched yet. Blackjack. The thing about blackjack is that it's one of the only casino games where skill actually matters. Card counting works. Not the Hollywood version with photographic memory, but the real version. Keeping track of the ratio of high cards to low cards remaining in the shoe, adjusting your bets accordingly. My mother had taught me the high-low system when I was 16, just for fun, she'd said, just to show me the math. I'd practiced for 2 years, every evening, memorizing until the count ran in my head like a second heartbeat. I sat down at a $100 minimum table with $10,000 in chips. The dealer was young, fast, professional. 6-deck shoe, reshuffled at about 70% penetration. Not ideal, but workable. I played basic strategy perfectly for an hour, flat betting $100. Lost $1,800. Established myself as another tourist with money to burn. Then the shoe turned hot. True count bar 4, which meant roughly 4% advantage for the player. I raised my bet to $500. Blackjack, paid $750. True count fly 5, bet $1,000. 20 against dealer 6. Dealer busts. Win $1,000. The count stayed hot for 7 hands. By the time it cooled, I was up $6,400. The pit boss drifted closer. I went back to flat betting $100. Lost a few hands, smiled pleasantly. Just a lucky streak, my posture said. Just variance. I played for 4 hours. The shoe went hot 3 more times. Each time, I raised my bets. Each time, I won more than I lost. By 6 p.m., I'd turned $10,000 into $47,000. I colored up my chips and left the table. Marcus found me at dinner. Where have you been? He looked terrible, pale, sweaty, eyes red. Playing blackjack, how'd you do? Fine. He wasn't fine. I could see it in the set of his shoulders, the way his hands shook slightly when he reached for his water. I'm taking a break. Tomorrow's another day. Want to know how I did? Sure. I showed him the $47,000 in chips. His face went through a fascinating journey. Surprise, disbelief, anger, and finally, interest. You won $47,000. Well, 47 minus the 10 I bought in with. So 37 net. How? Blackjack. I got lucky. I sipped my wine. Probably shouldn't push it, though. That's a great weekend. Lucky. He stared at the chips like they were alien artifacts. You don't get that lucky. Sometimes you do. Show me. Show you what? How you play. Your system. I smiled. I don't have a system, Marcus. I just play basic strategy and got lucky with the cards. Bullshit. He leaned forward. I've been watching you this weekend. You're different here. Focus, like you know something. His eyes narrowed. You've been counting cards? Counting cards doesn't work, I said, echoing the lie every casino tells. It's just a myth. Then you won't mind showing me how you play. We went back to the blackjack tables at 9 p.m. Marcus bought in for $20,000, a significant chunk of his weekend bankroll, I noted. He was already down more than he'd admitted. The $60,000 he'd been up? Probably closer to 30 now. Maybe 20. He was chasing losses, and that's when gamblers make mistakes. I bought in for $5,000 and proceeded to play the most boring blackjack imaginable. Perfect basic strategy, flat betting $100. I lost slowly, steadily, like any normal player would. Marcus played aggressively, betting big, chasing wins. The shoe was cold, true count hovering around 2, which meant house advantage. I kept my bets small and lost small. Marcus kept his bets big and lost big. After 2 hours, I was down 1 4 into $100. Marcus was down $18,000. I don't get it, he said, frustration making his voice sharp. You won earlier. What changed? The cards changed. That's how variance works. Then let's go somewhere else. Somewhere with better cards. Or we could call it a night. You're not playing well. I'm playing fine. Marcus, you're down at least 30,000 this weekend. Maybe it's time to stop. His face flushed. How do you know how much I'm down? Because I can count, honey. You started with 50,000 in cash. You keep going back to the ATM. The math isn't hard. It's my money. I know. So don't tell me what to do with it. I stood up, collecting my remaining chips. You're right. It's your money. Do what you want. I went back to the suite and waited. He came back at 4 a.m., dead broke. He'd lost everything he'd brought to Vegas, roughly $90,000 total over the weekend. His first weekend with access to his inheritance, and he'd burned through more than most people made in a year. But here's the beautiful part. He thought he'd just been unlucky. He thought next time would be different. I gave it a week. Marcus was moody, snappish, embarrassed. He didn't talk about Vegas. He didn't talk about the money. He just retreated into his office and stared at spreadsheets like they held the secrets of the universe. Then casually, over dinner, I think I figured out what went wrong. In Vegas? I was playing emotionally, chasing. I wasn't thinking clearly. He pushed food around his plate. But you walked away with profit. Barely, a couple thousand. Still profit. He looked up. Teach me. Teach you what? Whatever you know about blackjack. Card counting, probability, whatever. You clearly know something. I pretended to think about it. I don't think that's a good idea. Why not? Because card counting works, Marcus. And when it works, casinos ban you. It's not sustainable. His eyes lit up. So you were counting. I didn't say that. But you were. You had to be. 37,000 in one day? That's not luck. I sighed, like he'd worn me down. Fine, I'll teach you, but not to use in casinos, just for fun. To understand the math. Whatever you say. He was already planning his next trip. I could see it in his eyes. I taught him the high-low system over the next month. He was a terrible student, impatient, sloppy, convinced he understood before he actually did. He couldn't keep the count accurately past 2 decks. He forgot basic strategy under pressure. He raised his bets too aggressively when the count turned positive, but he thought he had it mastered. I'm ready, he announced one Saturday. Let's go to Atlantic City. Marcus, come on, you said I was getting better. I said you were getting less terrible. That's not the same as good. Then come with me. We'll play as a team. You count. I'll bet. That's what I'd been waiting for. Atlantic City was colder than Vegas, grayer, more desperate. We stayed at the Borgata. Marcus bought in for $50,000, his second major gambling trip in 6 weeks. I wondered how much of the $20 million was left. 19? 18? We played at separate tables at first. I told him to watch me to see how I managed the count under casino conditions. I proceeded to put on a masterclass. 6 hours at the blackjack table. Started with $10,000, ended with $73,000. I flat bet during negative counts, raised during positive, never showed a pattern, never stayed at one table too long. I tipped well, chatted with dealers, lost occasionally on purpose to avoid suspicion. Marcus watched from another table, losing steadily, his eyes getting wider every time he saw my chip stack grow. By midnight, I'd won $63,000. He'd lost $35,000. How? He demanded when we met back at the room. How are you so much better? Practice? Discipline? Emotional control? I stacked my chips on the bed. You're counting wrong half the time. You're betting too aggressively, and you're showing patterns that any halfway competent pit boss can spot. Then keep teaching me. Marcus, this isn't a game. No, it's income. He gestured at my winnings. Do you know what we could make if we got serious about this? Real money, millions. We already have millions. You have 20 million, which could be 40, 60, 100. His eyes had that feverish light I remembered from my death. Jennifer, you're sitting on a gold mine. This skill you have, we need to use it. Casinos ban card counters. Then we'll go to different casinos. We'll use disguises, whatever it takes. He grabbed my hands. Baby, you can't tell me you don't see the potential. You just won $63,000 in 6 hours. That's $500,000 a week. $2 million a month. Do the math. I had done the math, but not the math he thought. Okay, I said, but we do it smart. We do it my way. Anything. We set a stop loss. If we lose more than we win 2 weeks in a row, we quit. Deal. And you practice. Really practice. I'm not doing all the work while you chase your ego. I'll practice every day. He didn't, of course. He practiced for 3 days, got bored, and decided he was good enough. We went to Vegas the following week, then Reno, then back to Atlantic City. We developed a routine. I'd win, he'd lose, he'd get frustrated, and then I'd win enough to cover both our losses plus profit. Over 6 months, I won $3.2 million at blackjack tables across the country. Marcus lost $4.1 million, but here's the thing. He didn't know about that second number. He only saw my wins. He saw the money coming in, the chips stacking up, the accounts growing. He didn't track his losses carefully because he was convinced they were just variance, just bad luck, just temporary setbacks. I tracked everything. Every dollar he lost, I documented. Every ATM withdrawal, every marker he took from the casino, every loan from the family accounts. I watched his inheritance shrink from 20 million to 16 to 12 to 8, and I kept winning. The casinos noticed eventually. The Bellagio banned me in month 4. I wore a wig and glasses and came back a week later. The Borgata caught on in month 6. I switched to smaller casinos, Indian reservations, Mississippi riverboats. Marcus thought we were outlaws, rebels beating the system. I knew we were something else. I was a predator, and he was prey. The thing about gambling addiction is that it doesn't look like addiction when you're winning. When I won $200,000 in a weekend, Marcus felt vindicated. When he lost $150,000 the next weekend, he felt like it was just a setback. But the math was simple. I was up $3.2 million. He was down $4.1 million. Net family loss, $900,000. Except it wasn't family loss, it was his loss. Because I'd been very, very careful about which accounts I gambled from. Every dollar I won in my name, deposited into my accounts, kept separate. Community property state, yes, but gambling winnings in your name stay in your name, especially when you can prove you were the player. Every dollar Marcus lost, he lost from his inheritance, his accounts, his money. I was building a fortune. He was destroying one. By month 8, he was down to 9 million of his original 20. He'd lost $11 million in less than a year, and he had no idea. That's when his family noticed. His mother called first. Marcus, your cousin said he saw you at the Caesars High Limit Room on a Wednesday afternoon. Don't you have work? I was meeting a client. He lied smoothly. His father was next. Son, we need to talk about your spending. The accountant flagged some concerning patterns. I'm investing. In what? Marcus hesitated. Opportunities. Ventures. It's complicated. The family accountant was the final straw. He showed up at our house with a laptop and a grim expression. Mr. Chen, you've withdrawn approximately 11 million from your accounts in the past 8 months. Can you explain these transactions? Marcus looked at me. I looked back, my face carefully neutral. I've been gambling, he said finally. The accountant's face remained professionally blank. I see, and how much have you won? We're up overall. Jennifer's been winning. She has a system. How much has your wife won? A lot, millions. Show him, Jennifer. I pulled up my account statements. $3.2 million in documented gambling winnings, all clean, all legal, all in my name. The accountant turned back to Marcus. And how much have you personally won? Silence. Mr. Chen, your grandfather's will included a clause. If you were to demonstrate financial irresponsibility, the family reserves the right to place the remainder of your inheritance back into trust until you reach age 40. Marcus went pale. That's 5 years from now. Yes. You can't do that. It's my money. Actually, Mr. Chen, it's the family's money. You're a beneficiary of the Chen family trust. Your grandfather was very clear about protecting family assets from poor decisions. I haven't made poor decisions. I've been investing. The accountant looked at him with something like pity. You've lost $11 million in 8 months. Your wife has won $3.2 million in the same time period. I don't think a court would see your gambling as investment. He closed his laptop. The family is invoking the responsibility clause. Effective immediately, your remaining funds are being returned to trust management. You'll receive a monthly allowance of $10,000 until you can demonstrate sustained financial responsibility. Marcus turned to me, desperate. Jennifer, tell them. Tell them about the system, about how much we've been winning. I looked at my husband, the man who'd stolen my mother's inheritance, who'd left me to die alone while he celebrated with his mistress, who'd learned nothing and deserved less. And I smiled. We haven't been winning, Marcus. I've been winning. You've been losing. His face went blank. What? Every dollar I won in my name, from my accounts. Every dollar you lost from yours. I pulled out my own laptop. I have spreadsheets. Every trip, every session, every hand. You lost $11.3 million. I won $3.2 million. Net family loss, $8.1 million. But it's not family loss, is it? It's your loss. But we were playing together. We were a team. You gambled away my inheritance in my first life, I said softly. Did you think I'd let you do it again? He stared at me. What? Nothing. I stood up. The accountant is right, Marcus. You need help. You have a gambling problem. I don't have a problem. You're the one who taught me. You're the one who... He stopped, realization dawning. You did this on purpose. Did what? You set me up. You taught me just enough to think I could win, and then you let me lose everything. The accountant cleared his throat. I'll leave you two to discuss this privately. After he left, Marcus just looked at me. Really looked at me, maybe for the first time in our marriage. Why? He asked. Because you're a thief, a parasite, a man who takes from the people who love him and gives nothing back. I walked to the window. Your family will take care of you. They'll give you your allowance, monitor your spending, keep you from destroying yourself completely. But you'll never have access to real money again. And that, Marcus, is exactly what you deserve. If you hate me so much, why marry me? Why teach me? Why spend a year doing this? Because divorce wasn't enough. I didn't want half your money. I wanted you to lose it all. I turned back to him. I wanted you to feel what it's like to watch your future disappear because someone you trusted decided it was theirs to take. He stopped. Did I do something to you before, in another life or something? I smiled. Something like that. He left that night, moved back in with his parents. His father's lawyers called my lawyers. Divorce proceedings began. Because of California's community property laws, I was entitled to half of everything acquired during the marriage. But here's the beautiful part. Gambling winnings in your name aren't community property if you can prove you were the sole player. And gambling losses from inheritance accounts are considered separate property. I walked away with 3.2 million in gambling winnings plus half of our other shared assets. Another $400,000 or so. Marcus walked away with 8 million left in trust, down from $20 million, no access to it until he was 40, and a monthly allowance that wouldn't cover his former lifestyle. His parents sued me, of course, claimed I'd manipulated him, taken advantage, something fraud. But I had evidence. Videos of him begging to learn. Texts of him insisting we gamble more. His own losses documented at dozens of casinos across the country. The suit went nowhere. My mother took me to lunch the day the divorce was finalized. "So," she said, sipping her wine, "are you going to tell me what that was really about?" "I told you, Marcus was a terrible husband, yes. But you knew that before you married him. You knew it on your wedding day." She leaned forward. "Jennifer, I've watched you for 3 years. You've been playing a game, and I don't think it was about money." I looked at my mother, healthy, vibrant, alive in a timeline where she should be dead, and felt my eyes sting. "He hurt me," I said, "in a way I can't explain. And I needed to hurt him back." "Did it work?" "Yes." "Do you feel better?" I thought about Marcus, stripped of his wealth, his pride, his future. I thought about the justice of it, the symmetry. I thought about standing in that casino, watching him celebrate while I died, and how that man would never exist now. "I feel even," I said. She squeezed my hand. "Then I'm glad." I kept gambling for a while after that. Not seriously, just enough to stay sharp. I won more than I lost. But I was careful. I didn't need the money anymore. I'd made my point. Besides, I had my mother's inheritance to think about now. She was 61, healthy, wealthy, and planning to retire in 4 years. Everything she'd built would come to me eventually, just like it had before. Except this time, I'd be ready to protect it. This time, I'd know exactly what it was worth. The last time I saw Marcus was at a charity event 2 years after our divorce. He looked older, diminished, carefully sober. His new girlfriend was a nice woman who worked in education. His parents had him on a tight leash. He saw me across the room and froze. I smiled and raised my glass in a small toast. He didn't return it, just turned and walked away. I heard later that he'd settled down, gotten serious about therapy, started working a real job in the family business. His allowance increased to $15,000 a month. In 3 more years, he'd get access to his trust again. What was left of it, anyway. Maybe he'd learned his lesson. Maybe he'd become a better man. But that wasn't my concern anymore. I'd gotten what I came for, justice, revenge, and the satisfaction of knowing that in at least one timeline, Marcus Chen lost everything he'd tried to steal. I kept the 3.2 million in gambling winnings in a separate account. Sometimes I'd look at the balance and think about how it represented not just money, but hundreds of hours at blackjack tables, thousands of hands played perfectly, the exact mathematical precision required to beat the house. Marcus thought gambling was about luck, about feeling, about being due for a win. I knew better. Gambling isn't about luck, it's about math, probability, and knowing exactly what you're willing to lose. And I'd been willing to lose everything to make sure he lost more. My phone rang one afternoon, an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Jennifer?" Marcus's voice uncertain. "I know I'm not supposed to contact you, but I needed to ask something." "Make it quick." "That story you told me, about how I hurt you in another life." He paused. "Was that real?" I watched traffic flow past my window, thought about timelines and choices, and the strange mercy of being given a second chance. "Does it matter?" I asked. "I guess not." He was quiet for a moment. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry for whatever I did, in this life or any other." "That's good, Marcus. I hope you mean it." "I do." He hesitated. "Are you happy?" I thought about my mother, alive and well, about my freedom, about falling asleep without fear and waking up without pain. Yes, I said. I really am. After we hung up, I deleted his number and blocked it. Some doors, once closed, should stay that way. The universe had given me an impossible gift, a second life, a chance to rewrite my story. I'd used it for revenge, yes, but also for protection, for justice, for love. My mother would live to see 70, then 80, then beyond. I'd make sure of it. And Marcus? He'd live too, diminished but functional, a cautionary tale in his own family about the dangers of thinking you're smarter than the house. Because here's the final secret about gambling: the house always wins unless you become the house. And I'd spent a year learning how to do exactly that.